guys, Artie McCarty here, and today we're going to learn how to make a clay pet fish bowl. I'm going to start with a template. Don't stick it in the middle of your clay slab. Try to find a spot on the edge of your clay so that you have extra clay on the sides to work with later. You can see I'm going to use a pencil and I'm going to trace around that template using my other hand to hold it down on top of the clay. You will also notice that I'm not really digging that deep into the clay, but just kind of drawing on top with a little bit of an indentation. Then I will lift it up and you can see my fish bowl. Put the template aside and you are ready to cut. Grab a tool, preferably one with a cutting edge. You can see that these are two different kinds for what we need. I'm going to use the knife edge and kind of start to cut along the line that I just created while tracing with my pencil. Notice I keep the scraps flat and to the side. It's easier to cut towards your body than to cut away from it. Also, sometimes these little corners get a little tricky, so you might have to do some little baby cuts like you see here in different directions. Don't be afraid to move the tool and your hand in different ways. All right, now that it's cut, do not crinkle or bend your clay too much. You want to leave it as flat as possible. You can see that I'm still leaving the scrap and the top flat. Then take some extra time to use your fingers to smooth along any cracks or those outside edges. Make them smooth. All right, now we're ready to make all those fun details to go inside our fish bowl. We're going to start by using the flat extra pieces that were left over from our clay slab. Smooth those guys out. All right, we're going to use our pencil again, and we are going to create our shapes that are going to fit inside our fish bowl. Sometimes it's helpful to measure those shapes. Here's my example. You can see I used a circle around this size and a triangle to make that fish. Sometimes I use my fingers to measure how big I want that circle for my fish to be on the slab so I know that it will fit. Again, I'm using my pencil to create a circle and drawing lightly on top of the clay extra piece, those extra slab pieces. Here I am tracing that circle, and then I'm going to add a triangle by adding two diagonal lines out of the side of my circle and a line down to make that triangle fishtail. Now I'm going to use that handy dandy knife tool again, and I'm going to cut out my fish. I'm going to start by using the straight edge and cutting away a slab. Notice that I cut towards my body and remove the straight pieces. If you notice, if I press hard enough to the tray or the table, my tool will stick up straight. That's how I know I cut all the way through. Cutting around the circle can be a little tricky, so take your time and kind of baby inch your way around the circle, turning your tool in different directions. If you have to do multiple cuts, that's okay too. It will come out eventually. Then you can cut away the extra pieces and remove them like that, or pull it apart. Sometimes our little shapes might actually get stuck to our paper or messy mat. So you might have to use your knife tool to kind of scrape underneath, or you can pull that messy mat up and peel it off the messy mat as well. Then take some time to use your fingers and smooth all those rough edges. When we cut them out, sometimes they get a little messy and you just have to take the time to smooth them out again. Now it's time to use that pencil again and draw the details of our fish. I'm going to start by drawing a little baby circle to create his eye. You can draw the little baby circles inside to give him a little sparkle, but sometimes those shapes are so small it's hard to get in there. I'm going to give my pet fish a smile as well because he's really happy to be my pet. Then I'm going to draw another half circle curved line to make the other part of his body. You can see here I'm showing you how to make U-shaped lines to create the scales. I will create those U shapes sideways along that line and then vary them, shifting them downward in the next row to create a scale or a pattern look. Then throw some lines in the back to give him that fishtail. now let's make some organic shapes, or seaweed, as you see here. We're going to use those leftover slab pieces once again. We're going to start by using our cutting tool and creating some vertical lines, cutting straight through, kind of creating these rectangular shapes, if you will. Here you'll see me using the knife tool to cut the top in an angle, or just a diagonal line. This is going to make the tops of our seaweed. You'll see. Then I'm going to slowly kind of bend or shape my seaweed or organic shapes with my fingers. You can kind of bend them in an S shape or any shape that works for you, but it makes it look like that seaweed is flowing in the water. Now it's time to create the sand or those rocks at the bottom of your fishbowl. I'm going to use another leftover slab piece, and I'm going to take my fishbowl and lay it on top. I'm going to use this to measure and kind of make a mark of where my sand needs to be, or the shape that it needs to be. I'm going to use my pencil to trace around the bottom of my fishbowl on this flat slab. You can see that when I lift it off, I will have the exact perfect shape I need for the bottom of my fishbowl. It's kind of an organic shape, and again, you're going to use that knife tool to cut it out. And you will see that when you lift it up, it should fit perfectly at the bottom. All right, y'all, let's talk about scoring. Scoring is a method used to attach pieces of clay together. You can see I'm going to use the knife tool to make little score or tally marks, or basically just scratchy lines, into my clay. I want to do this on any piece of clay that I want to attach to something. It kind of acts like a glue and binds pieces of clay together so they don't break, crack, or explode in the kiln. Here you saw me trace that sand piece with my pencil so that I know exactly where to score and make those tally mark lines on my pet fish bowl as well. I put a little bit of water, tiny drop, tiny, on the back of my sand, and I'm going to push and press and let those pieces kind of suction between and so that they will bind together. All right, so press, 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 and get the air out between them, and then lift up and you'll see the crack between the two pieces. It's important to take your fingers and pinch and smooth this area so that it becomes one. Smooth it out. You'll also notice there's probably a small crack at the top as well. And so here, sometimes I'll take a pencil and I will kind of smooth and create like an indentation, but also it kind of binds that top piece and makes it look nice as well. Also going to use my pencil tip to make a couple little dots to make it look like sand. All right, now it's time to put all the other pieces together. Just like we did for the sand, you're going to need to score on the back of all your seaweed pieces and on the back of your fish. Figure out what angle you want your little fishy to do his swimming, and once you've made a decision, remember you can use that pencil to trace around it so you have the exact shape and know where to score on your fish bowl as well. Don't forget to use that pencil to smooth those creases between the two pieces of clay to bind them together a little bit better, just so they have a better chance of not cracking or falling apart. Now you can take your pencil and draw the top part of your bowl. I just made a little oval shape at the top to make the bowl opening, and then another one below to kind of create that edge of the bowl. And then the next line, I used a wavy line to create the water inside of the bowl too. Then you can use your pencil to make any other details you want. like little bubbles. Hope you had fun with your project, and don't forget to name your pet fish. Philip Johnny Bob says, thanks for watching.